What's wrong with being offended? When did sticks and stones may break my bones stop being relevant? Isn't that what you teach children, for God's sake? That's what you teach toddlers. He called me an idiot. Don't worry about him. He's a dick. Now you have adults going, I was offended, and I have rights. Well, so what? Be offended. Nothing happens. You're an adult. Grow up. Deal with it. I was offended. I don't care. Nothing happens when you're offended. There's nothing. I went to the comedy show, and the comedian said something about the Lord, and I was offended. And when I woke up in the morning, I had leprosy. Nothing happens. I want to live in democracy, but I never want to be offended again. Well, you're an idiot.
In 2009, Elisabeth Sabaditsch-Wolff, a conservative Christian from Austria, gave several seminars at the Freedom Party Education Institute. These seminars were titled Basic Information on Islam, and within them she likened the Islamic prophet Muhammad's marriage to 6-year-old Aisha to paedophilia. She put it as follows: "One of the biggest problems we are facing today is that Muhammad is seen as the ideal man, the perfect human, the perfect Muslim. That means that the highest commandment for a male Muslim is to imitate Muhammad, to live his life. This does not happen in accordance to our social standards and laws. Because he was a warlord, he had many women, to put it like this, and liked to do it with children." In response, an attendee of the seminars, who was an undercover journalist, requested a preliminary investigation against Elisabeth for inciting hatred. A long story short, in 2011 she was convicted by the Regional Criminal Court for disparaging religious doctrines, and was ordered to pay the costs of the proceedings and a fine of €480. Now, Elisabeth's defence was predicated on Article 10 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which declares that everyone has the right to freedom of expression. This right should include the freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart information and ideas without interference by public authority and regardless of frontiers. But the court ruled that anyone who wishes to exercise their rights under Article 10 of the Convention was subject to duties and responsibilities, such as refraining from making statements which hurt others without reason, and therefore did not contribute to a debate of public interest. And that the manner in which religious views were attacked could invoke the state's responsibility in order to guarantee the peaceful exercise of the rights under Article 9. Presenting objects of religious worship in a provocative way, capable of hurting the feeling of the followers of that religion, could be conceived as a malicious violation of the spirit of tolerance.
I was offended, and I have rights.
Dissatisfied, Elisabeth took her case to the Vienna Court of Appeal, but on the 20th of December 2011, the court dismissed it, ruling that her commentary was intended as an abusive attack on the Prophet of Islam, and that her statements were wrong and offensive. In response, Elisabeth lodged a renewal of her proceedings to the Supreme Court, but on the 13th of December 2013, the court dismissed her appeal, stating that the court had stated many times that in the context of religion, member states had a duty to suppress certain forms of conduct or expression that were gratuitously offensive to others and profane. A duty to suppress.
I was offended, and I have rights.
Once again dismayed, Elisabeth escalated her appeal to the European Convention of Human Rights, insisting that her speech, however offensive, is protected by Article 10 of the Convention. But on the 20th of October 2018, the ECHR ruled that the domestic courts comprehensively addressed the wider context of the applicant's statements, and carefully balanced her right to freedom of expression with the rights of others to have their religious feelings protected, and that therefore there has been no violation of Article 10, and so the conviction stands. Now, to put this bluntly, this is despicable. The highest judicial authority in all of Europe, which has the sole occupation of protecting the human rights of European citizens, has failed to protect the human rights of European citizens. It has ruled that insulting the feelings of Muslims is illegal, that criticizing a fictional warlord is a criminal offense. Let that sink in. The European Court of Human Rights has failed to protect the most important human right of all, freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech is the foundational freedom. It's the freedom that makes everything else possible. It's the freedom, the right to vote, the right to association, the right to political organization. None of those make any sense or are even workable without freedom of speech.
Look, whether you find Elizabeth's statements to be in bad taste or not, whether you believe she was being deliberately provocative or not, this ruling should bother you greatly. She was not advocating violence or calling all Muslims paedophiles, she was simply calling into question Muhammad's moral character. To quote Noam Chomsky, if we do not believe in freedom of speech for those we despise, we do not believe in it at all. Which is to say that even if you despise Elizabeth's statements, if you don't fight for her freedom to express them, then I've got news for you. You don't believe in freedom of speech. You believe in licensed speech, just like the ECHR. The truth is that Article 10 isn't worth the paper it's written on. If someone's offence takes priority over someone else's freedom of speech, then we don't have freedom of speech, and that is catastrophic. One of my favourite sayings is that a principle isn't a principle until it costs you. And when I witness, for example, preachers insisting that people deserve to be tortured forever because of their sexual orientation.
The Bible condemns women with women, men with men.
I am deeply angered. And likewise, when I see Muslims burning poppies while chanting, "Burn in hell," I'm grossly offended. But here's the thing, while I might disapprove of what they say, I will defend their right to say it, because I really believe in free speech. Free speech is the bedrock of a free society, and this utter failing of the ECHR is simply unacceptable. It's times like these that I'm incredibly jealous of the United States First Amendment. I said it before, and I'll say it again. The European Court of Human Rights has failed to protect European human rights. It has failed to fulfill its sole occupation. Anyhow, as always, thank you kindly for the view, and an extra special thank you to my wonderful patrons and those of you who have supported the channel via PayPal and merchandise. Due to the political nature of this video, and the presence of keywords such as Muhammad, Islam and paedophile, I doubt this video will remain eligible for advertising, and so thank you again for your support. You make such worries of minimal concern, and thus enable me to speak freely.
How do you make a law about offending people? How do you make it an offence to offend people? Being offended is subjective. It has everything to do with you as an individual, or a collective, or a group, or a society, or a community, your moral conditioning, your religious beliefs. What offends me may not offend you, and you want to make laws about this? I'm offended when I see boy bands, for God's sake. It's a valid offence, I'm offended. They're corporate shills posing as musicians to further a modelling career, and frankly, I'm disgusted. Right? But what am I going to do? Call the cops? Hello, it's me again. They're on the telly this time. 5 of them, that's it. Yeah, white suits dancing like girls, that's them. 5 minutes, I'll be out the front traumatised. Bye.